You emerge from your mother's womb in the dead of winter, inside a cramped den buried under 6 feet of snow. You're about the size of a hamster, blind, deaf, and completely helpless. Your fur is so thin you can see your pink skin underneath. Your mother, weighing 400 pounds, hasn't eaten in months and is running on pure fat reserves. She's exhausted, cranky, and frankly, not thrilled about having twins. You and your sibling immediately start competing for milk, pushing and shoving with your tiny paws. Your mother barely acknowledges your existence. She just lies there, letting you figure it out while she dreams of salmon. For the next 3 months, this dark, freezing den is your entire world. You grow from the size of a hamster to roughly the size of a small dog, but you're still completely dependent on your mother. The den smells like bare breath, milk, and waste. It's cramped, cold, and incredibly boring. Your sibling is your only entertainment, and even then, all you do is wrestle for the best nursing spots. Outside, the world is frozen solid. Temperatures drop to -40 degrees, and blizzards rage for days. If you were out there, you'd be dead in minutes. But inside this den, you're safe, warm, and slowly getting stronger. Finally, spring arrives. Your mother pushes through the snow and steps outside for the first time in 6 months. You follow her, blinking in the bright sunlight. Everything is overwhelming. The world is huge, loud, and full of smells you can't even begin to understand. Your mother immediately starts foraging for food. She's lost nearly half her body weight and is desperately hungry. She tears apart logs looking for insects, digs up roots, and strips bark from trees. You and your sibling stay close, watching her every move and trying to copy her techniques. But then you hear something that makes your blood freeze. A deep, rumbling roar echoes through the forest. Your mother's head snaps up, and for the first time, you see real fear in her eyes. It's a male grizzly, and he's twice her size. Male grizzlies have a nasty habit of killing cubs that aren't theirs, and this guy looks like he hasn't eaten in a while. Your mother immediately positions herself between you and the approaching male. She stands on her hind legs, making herself look as large as possible, and lets out a warning roar that shakes the trees. The male doesn't back down. He charges forward, and your mother meets him head-on. They collide with a sound like thunder, claws and teeth flashing as they roll across the forest floor. Your mother fights with everything she has, but she's weak from months of hibernation and nursing. The male is fresh, strong, and determined. He pins her down and goes for her throat. You and your sibling huddle together, watching in terror as your mother struggles beneath him. But then something amazing happens. Your mother finds a burst of strength from somewhere deep inside. She roars with pure rage and throws the male off her. He stumbles backward. Surprised by her ferocity, she doesn't give him time to recover. She charges forward and lands a devastating blow to his face with her claws. Blood streams down his snout as he staggers back. For a moment, you think your mother might actually win. But the male is too strong. He recovers quickly and charges again. This time, your mother doesn't try to fight. She grabs you and your sibling by the scruff and scrambles up the nearest tree. Grizzlies are surprisingly good climbers, especially when they're scared. The male follows, but he's too heavy for the thin branches. They bend and crack under his weight, forcing him to retreat. He circles the tree for hours, roaring and clawing at the bark, but eventually gives up and wanders off to find easier prey. You spend the rest of the day in that tree, too scared to come down. Your mother's fur is matted with blood, and she's breathing heavily. But she's alive, and so are you. That's your first real lesson about being a grizzly bear. Survival means being willing to fight for your life, even when the odds are against you. Skip forward a few months, and you're getting bigger and more confident. You and your siblings spend your days playing, exploring, and learning to forage. Your mother teaches you which berries are safe to eat, how to dig for roots, and where to find the best fishing spots. Life feels good. You're growing fast, putting on weight, and starting to feel like a real bear. But then disaster strikes. You're following your mother through a meadow when she suddenly stops and sniffs the air. Her body tenses, and you know something's wrong. In the distance, you hear voices, human voices, Your mother immediately turns and starts running. But it's too late. The humans have spotted you. They're hunters. And they've been tracking your mother for days. They raise their rifles and take aim. Your mother tries to shield you and your sibling with her body, but there's nowhere to hide in the open meadow. The first shot rings out, and your mother staggers. The second shot drops her to the ground. She tries to get up, roaring in pain and fury, but the third shot finishes her. You and your sibling don't understand what's happening. You run to your mother and try to wake her up, nuzzling her face and whimpering, but she doesn't respond. The hunters approach cautiously, weapons still raised. They're proud of their kill. Taking pictures and high-fiving each other, they don't even notice you and your sibling cowering behind your mother's body. When the hunters finally leave, dragging your mother's carcass behind them, you and your sibling are left completely alone. You're only 8 months old, far too young to survive on your own. You don't know how to hunt, you don't know where to find the best food sources, and you don't know how to avoid the dangers that lurk in every shadow. The first few days are the hardest. You and your sibling stay close to the spot where your mother died, hoping she'll somehow come back. But she never does. Eventually, hunger forces you to start searching for food. You try to remember everything your mother taught you, but it's not enough. You manage to find some berries and dig up a few roots, but it's barely enough to keep you alive. Your sibling doesn't make it. One morning, you wake up and he's just lying there, still and cold. You try to wake him up, but he's gone. The stress, the lack of proper nutrition, and the constant fear have finally taken their toll. You're completely alone now. A 9-month-old grizzly cub with no family, no guidance, and very little chance of survival. But somehow, you keep going. You learn to scavenge from human garbage cans, risking dangerous encounters with people who see you as a threat. You learn to steal food from campsites, always staying just ahead of park rangers who want to relocate or destroy you. It's not the life your mother wanted for you, but it's the only life you have. If you're enjoying this wild journey through the harsh reality of animal life, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories about survival in the natural world. Trust me, there are some absolutely insane animal stories coming up that you won't want to miss. Skip forward 2 years, and you're finally starting to look like a real grizzly bear. You weigh about 200 pounds and stand nearly 4 feet tall on all fours. You've learned to fish for salmon during spawning season, and you're getting pretty good at it. The river is crowded with bears, all competing for the best fishing spots. You're still young and relatively small, so you have to wait your turn and take whatever scraps the bigger bears leave behind. One day, you're fishing in your usual spot when a massive male grizzly decides he wants it for himself. He's easily twice your size, with scars covering his face and shoulders. This bear has been around the block, and he's not in the mood to share. He charges at you with a roar that echoes off the canyon walls. You have two choices: fight or flight. Fighting would be suicide. This bear could kill you with one swipe of his massive paw. So you run. You scramble up the riverbank and don't stop until you're deep in the forest. It's humiliating, but it keeps you alive. That's another hard lesson about being a grizzly bear. Sometimes, knowing when to back down is the most important skill you can have. But running away comes with its own problems. The best fishing spots are controlled by the biggest, strongest bears, the best berry patches, the richest root grounds, the safest denning sites. They are all claimed by bears who could crush you without breaking a sweat. You're forced to survive on the scraps, the leftovers, the dangerous edges of grizzly bear society. You learn to fish at night when the big bears are sleeping. You forage in areas that are less productive but also less contested. You take risks that more experienced bears would never take, like getting closer to human settlements or venturing into wolf territory. It's a dangerous game, but it's the only way to get enough food to survive. One autumn, you race desperately trying to put on weight for the winter when you catch a scent that changes everything. It's the smell of death, rich and pungent, coming from somewhere deeper in the forest. You follow it for miles, your mouth watering at the promise of an easy meal. When you finally find the source, your heart sinks. It's an elk carcass, but it's surrounded by wolves. A pack of 8, maybe 10, all snarling and snapping at each other as they tear at the meat. You watch from the trees, calculating your chances. You're bigger than any individual wolf, but together, they could easily kill you. Still, you haven't eaten a proper meal in days, and winter is coming fast. You decide to take the risk. You charge out of the trees, roaring at the top of your lungs. The wolves scatter, startled by your sudden appearance. You dive into the carcass, tearing off huge chunks of meat and swallowing them as fast as you can. But the wolves don't go far. They circle you, growling and showing their teeth, waiting for their chance to strike. You eat as much as you can before the pack works up the courage to attack. When they finally charge, you're ready. You rear up on your hind legs and swipe at the closest wolf with your claws. You catch it across the face, sending it tumbling across the ground. The other wolves hesitate, suddenly realizing that you're not going to be easy prey. But they're hungry too, and they've got numbers on their side. They attack in waves, darting in to bite at your legs and flanks before retreating. You spin and swipe, trying to keep them at bay, but there are too many of them. One wolf manages to latch onto your back leg, its teeth sinking deep into your muscle. You roar in pain and fury. Reaching back to grab the wolf with your massive paw, you squeeze until you hear bones crack. Then fling its lifeless body into the trees. The other wolves pause, reassessing the situation. You've just killed one of their packmates, and they're starting to realize that this meal might not be worth the cost. They retreat into the forest, leaving you alone with what's left of the elk carcass. You're bleeding from multiple bite wounds, and your back leg is throbbing with pain. But you're alive, and you've got enough meat to last for several days. You drag the carcass to a secluded spot and eat until your belly is bulging. It's the first time you've felt truly full in months. As winter approaches, you start looking for a suitable den. This is crucial. The bad den can mean death. You need something that's sheltered from the wind and snow, elevated enough to avoid flooding, but accessible enough that you can dig your way out in the spring. You spend weeks searching, testing different caves and overhangs before finally finding the perfect spot. It's a cave on the side of a mountain, partially hidden by fallen rocks. You spend days preparing it, digging out a comfortable sleeping chamber and lining it with grass and leaves. As the first heavy snows begin to fall, you settle in for the long winter sleep. You've managed to put on nearly 100 pounds of fat over the summer, which will have to sustain you for the next 4 to 6 months. Hibernation isn't like human sleep. It's more like a living death. Your heart rate slows to just a few beats per minute, your breathing becomes barely detectable, and your body temperature drops significantly. You don't dream, you don't move. You don't even wake up to go to the bathroom. Your body simply shuts down all non-essential functions and runs on stored fat. But even in hibernation, you're not completely safe. If the weather is unusually warm, you might wake up too early, before there's enough food available to sustain you. If the weather is unusually cold, you might freeze to death in your den. If another bear finds your den, they might decide to take it for themselves. And you'd be too groggy to defend yourself effectively. Somehow, you make it through the winter. You emerge in early spring, groggy and disoriented, having lost nearly a third of your body weight. The world outside is still cold and barren. With patches of snow covering the ground, food is scarce. And you're competing with every other bear that survived the winter, but you're alive. And that's more than many bears can say. You're 5 years old now, fully grown and weighing close to 400 pounds. You're no longer the scared, confused cub who lost his mother to hunters. You're a formidable predator in your own right, capable of taking down elk, moose, and even bison if the opportunity rises. Other bears give you respect, if not deference. You've earned your place in the hierarchy 3 years of hardship and survival. But with maturity comes new challenges. You start to feel the urge to mate, to pass on your genes to the next generation. The problem is, female grizzly bears are incredibly picky about their mates. They want the biggest, strongest, most dominant males they can find. And even if you manage to impress a female, you'll have to fight off every other male in the area who wants the same thing. During mating season, male grizzly bears become incredibly aggressive. They'll fight to the death over the right to mate with a receptive female. You've seen these battles before. And they're absolutely brutal. Bears weighing 600 pounds or more, standing on their hind legs and slashing at each other with claws that can tear through tree bark. The losers often don't survive. One spring, you catch the scent of a female in heat. She's a beautiful sow, probably around your age, with thick, glossy fur and intelligent eyes. You follow her scent for miles, your heart pounding with anticipation when you finally find her. She's grazing in a meadow filled with spring flowers. She looks up as you approach, assessing you with those intelligent eyes. But before you can even introduce yourself, another male appears. He's huge, easily 500 pounds, with battle scars covering his massive frame. He looks at you and lets out a roar that shakes the ground. The message is clear: this female is his, and you need to back off. You consider your options. You could fight, but you'd probably lose. You could retreat, but then you'd spend another year alone. Or you could wait and see if an opportunity presents itself. You choose to wait, following the pair at a distance, hoping that the big male will make a mistake or that the female will decide she prefers a younger, more agile mate. Days pass. The big male is possessive and aggressive, never letting the female out of his sight. But he's also getting tired. Mating season is exhausting for male bears, who often go weeks without eating while they focus on reproduction. You notice him slowing down, taking more frequent rests, becoming less vigilant. Your chance finally comes when the big male falls asleep after a particularly strenuous mating session. You approach the female cautiously, hoping she won't alert her sleeping guardian. To your surprise, she seems receptive. Maybe she's looking for genetic diversity, or maybe she's just tired of being controlled by the big male. Whatever the reason, she allows you to approach. But just as things are getting interesting, the big male wakes up. He sees you with his female and goes absolutely berserk. He charges at you with a roar that probably scares wildlife for miles around. You barely have time to react before his massive paw connects with your shoulder, sending you tumbling across the meadow. You scramble to your feet, bleeding from deep claw marks. The big male is coming at you again, and this time you can see murder in his eyes. You have a split second to make a decision: stand and fight, or run for your life. Every instinct tells you to run, but something deeper, something primal, tells you to stand your ground. You rise up on your hind legs and meet his charge head-on. The impact is tremendous. Like two freight trains colliding, you and the big male grapple, biting and clawing, each trying to gain the advantage. He's stronger, but you're faster and more agile. You manage to duck under his massive swipe and rake your claws across his ribs. The fight goes on for what feels like hours, but is probably only minutes. Both of you are bleeding heavily, breathing hard, circling each other looking for an opening. The female watches from a safe distance, seemingly uninterested in the outcome. Finally, you see your chance. The big male overextends on a swipe, leaving his neck exposed. You lunge forward and sink your teeth into his throat. He thrashes and roars, trying to shake you off, but you hold on with everything you've got. You can taste his blood, feel his massive body growing weaker. Finally, he goes limp. You release your grip and step back, breathing heavily. The big male lies motionless on the ground, blood pooling beneath him. You've won, but at what cost? You're covered in wounds, some of them serious. Your shoulder throbs where his claws tore through muscle. You're exhausted, both physically and emotionally. And now you have to deal with the aftermath of killing another bear in grizzly society. Such victories come with both respect and responsibility. The female approaches cautiously. She sniffs the body of your fallen rival, then looks at you with what might be approval. You've proven yourself worthy through combat, the oldest and most respected way among grizzlies. Over the next few days, you mate with her multiple times, ensuring that your genes will continue into the next generation. But mating is just the beginning of your responsibilities. Female grizzlies give birth during hibernation, and the cubs won't emerge until spring. You won't see your offspring for nearly a year, and even then, you won't play a direct role in raising them. Male grizzlies are generally absent fathers, more likely to kill cubs than care for them. It's a harsh reality, but it's the way your species has evolved. As the years pass, you establish yourself as a dominant male in your territory. You've survived battles with other bears, encounters with wolves, and the constant threat of human activity. You've mated with multiple females and probably fathered dozens of cubs. Though you'll never know most of them, but being an apex predator doesn't make you invincible. Climate change is altering your habitat, making food sources less predictable. Human development is encroaching on your territory, forcing you into increasingly dangerous situations. And you're starting to show your age. At 15, you're considered old for a wild grizzly bear. Your joints ache in cold weather, your reflexes aren't as quick as they used to be, and younger males are starting to challenge your dominance. One autumn, as you're preparing for what might be your final hibernation, you encounter a group of hunters. They've been tracking you for days, drawn by your reputation as a massive, dangerous bear. You try to avoid them, but they're persistent. Finally, you have no choice but to confront them. They raise their rifles as you rear up on your hind legs, trying to intimidate them into backing down. For a moment, you lock eyes with the lead hunter. You see fear there, but also determination. You both know how this is going to end. The shots ring out across the forest, and your long, difficult life finally comes to an end. Your story is over, but it's also just beginning. Your cubs are scattered throughout the wilderness, carrying your genes and your survival instincts into the next generation. Some of them will die young, victims of the same harsh realities that shaped your life, but others will grow strong, will fight and survive and mate and pass on their genes in turn. Before we wrap up this incredible journey through the life of a grizzly bear, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more amazing stories about wildlife survival. The natural world is full of incredible tales of struggle, survival, and triumph. And there's so much more to explore. Life as a grizzly bear is a constant battle against the elements, against other predators, against human encroachment, and against the simple reality that nature doesn't care about your individual survival. Every day brings new challenges, new threats, new opportunities for both triumph and disaster. It's a life that demands incredible strength, intelligence, and resilience. But perhaps that's what makes grizzly bears so magnificent. They don't just survive in one of the world's harshest environments, they dominate it. They're living symbols of wild America. Reminders of a time when the continent was ruled by creatures that feared nothing and no one. Every grizzly bear that survives to adulthood has overcome odds that would crush most other animals. So the next time you see a grizzly bear, whether in the wild or in a documentary, remember the incredible journey they've been on just to be there. Remember the battles they've fought, the challenges they've overcome, and the sheer determination it takes to be one of nature's ultimate survivors. It really does suck to be born as a grizzly bear, but somehow, they make it look magnificent.